Hey everyone. Okay, in this second video here, we are going to dive into macros. What are they? How does this work? What is this whole macros thing? So macros just means macronutrients. Okay, these are your big nutrients. You can think of the word macro as big, micro is small. So your macronutrients are your carbohydrates, your proteins, and your fat. Just those three things. Everything else in your diet is a micronutrient. So your vitamin D, your calcium, your fiber, those are micronutrients. So the focus here is on your macronutrients because yes, we need to know how many calories we need in a day, right? So that was step one, right? Like how many calories do I actually need to maintain, gain, or lose weight? You guys have figured that out. You have your calorie count. Now your macros is going a little bit more specifically into the actual breakdown of those calories. How much of my calories should be from carbs, how much should be from fats, and how much should be from proteins. And we are going to look at that as a percentage. Okay. So first, let's just like understand what those three different macronutrients are. So let's start with carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are your primary source of energy. They are found in foods like grains, fruits and vegetables, legumes, breads, cereals, right? We kind of are familiar with carbs because we generally eat too much of them and we're usually trying to scale back on our carbohydrate intake. You do need carbohydrates. It's not a bad thing, but a lot of times our diet is way too heavy with our percentage of carbohydrates. Typically, a moderate to lower intake of carbs is recommended for weight loss because it helps manage your insulin levels and your hunger. You may have noticed that when you eat a lot of carbs, you just crave more carbs, and it kind of lends to this cycle of, getting too much sugar, raising your blood sugar, and not feeling good. Okay, so that is your first macronutrient. The second is protein. Protein is essential for muscle repair and growth. Protein is found in your meats, your dairy, some plant-based sources like tofu, some beans and legumes, right? You think of like your protein foods being your meat, seafood, great sources of protein. Higher protein intake can help preserve muscle mass during weight loss and help keep you feeling full. So protein becomes really, really key when you are looking to fix your metabolism and to lose weight without losing muscle. Because yes, you could just reduce your calories down to the appropriate amount and you would lose weight, but how much muscle are you going to lose if you are not keeping your protein high, right? We don't want to just diet. We want to be properly fueling our bodies. So protein, as I've been tracking my macros, is the thing I realize I have not been getting enough of. And I've had to come up with ways to add more protein into my diet. So you may realize that as you're tracking your macros, like, man, I am just not getting enough protein. That's where our lean protein comes in super handy for you to make lean shakes or add lean to yogurt or to different recipes. It really boosts your protein intake. And then the third macronutrient is fat. Fat is necessary. Okay, so I don't want you to think of fat as a bad thing. It is necessary for hormone production and for nutrient absorption. And it is found in your oils, nuts, seeds, avocados, and fatty fish. All of our macronutrients have some overlap. So there's going to be foods that you think of in a protein category, but they have fat. So an example would be like steak, right? Or eggs. A lot of protein, also a lot of fat. There are leaner proteins like fish and chicken that are more like solely in that protein category and have less fat. So as you're logging your foods and tracking your macronutrients, you will find some overlap with these things. But healthy fats, which are unsaturated fats, should be prioritized over unhealthy fats. And the unhealthy ones are your trans fats or getting lots and lots of saturated fat. So with your animal products, you'll always have some saturated fat. You just don't want it to be too high. As far as oils go, I would encourage you to stick with olive oil, coconut oil, or avocado oil. Those are the three that I try to just keep in my diet. And you want to limit vegetable oil, canola oil, and lots of seed oils. Because they can just cause some inflammation in your body. Okay, so olive oil, coconut, and avocado would be your main go-tos. Okay, so that's kind of what macronutrients are. Now let's talk about the breakdown, right? Like how much of my diet should each one be? Well, kind of as a general rule, your carbohydrate is like 45 to 65% of your total calorie intake. Your protein is 20 to 35%. And your fat is 10 to 35%. So there's this range. But I would highly recommend that you go with a high protein macro breakdown for weight loss. So if you are looking to lose weight, high protein makes such a difference. And not only accelerates your weight loss, but you just feel better, at least for me. Everybody's different. But for me, when I eat higher protein, my hunger level goes down and I just feel more energized and feel better. So for high protein, if you want to do that macro breakdown, it's really easy to remember. It's 40, 40, 20. So 40% protein, 40% carbs, 20% fat. Okay. And as you're using your app, whether it's MyFitnessPal or Macros First or Fat Secret or something else you're using, it should allow you to adjust your macro breakdown. And then what's super helpful is as you track your foods throughout the day, you can see how you're tracking with your carbs, your fat, and your protein. It'll take a couple of days for you to kind of figure out like a good mix for this, but it gives you real-time feedback so that, you know, as I'm tracking my breakfast and my lunch, I may realize, wow, my carbs are way above that percentage. I need to get more protein towards the end of this day to level me out. Okay. So it's going to give you real-time feedback, but that high protein breakdown is 40% protein, 40% carbs, 20% fat. There's lots of variations. For example, keto, if you guys are familiar with the keto diet, that's 75% fat, 20% protein, and just 5% carbs. So that is extremely low carb. You do lose weight on that, but it's a little hard on your body. You go into ketosis and you can kind of get this keto flu thing going on. So especially if you're a beginner, I wouldn't recommend that. I think it's helpful to have a little bit of carbohydrate in your diet, but keep it around 40% of your total calories. Okay, just want to make sure that I went over everything with you guys. All right, so your homework from the first video was to figure out your calorie need, your basal metabolic rate, how many calories you need in a day. Your homework for today is going to be to go back to that same website, and I'll link it again. And there is a macros calculator, and you want to figure out your macro breakdown. Now, let me just show you. I'm going to share my screen. I will, oh my goodness, so many tabs open, sorry. I'll walk you through this. So I'll link it here. It'll say macro calculator here at the top. And then you're gonna put in your age, male or female, height and weight. Again, your activity level is very important, so please be honest with this. And it defines exercise down here if you're not sure. And then your goal, so whether it's weight loss, maintain weight, I'll put weight loss of 1 pound. We're going to hit calculate. And here is your macro breakdown. So looking at your protein, your carbs, and your fats gives you the grams per day. This will be helpful as you start using your app. If it allows you to just input how many grams you're going for, you can do that. This is balanced. What I've noticed is that this is pretty high carbohydrate. So again, I'm going to recommend that you go over here to this high protein. It's going to still give you a good amount of carbs, but less carbs, more protein. Okay. So again, sorry, my kids are screaming. Personal recommendation is to do high protein if you're looking to lose weight. Okay. So homework for today is to, number one, make sure you have your app figured out, and then go figure out your macro breakdown and start logging your food even before our challenge. It'll really help you get started.